Good morning, everyone. 16th of September, Friday, and it's 8 o'clock here in Lanzarote, 7 o'clock UTC, and 9 o'clock in France. And it's certainly getting very interesting. They're roaring down towards Lanzarote. First boats will be due in sometime late tonight, local time, maybe about 10 o'clock tonight, or thereabouts. We're watching it closely. And there's things happening with the weather as well. You can see here now we've got a high pressure system starting to affect the breeze. Certainly the wind direction is good, but you're going to see it soften off shortly, so that could have some ramifications for the fleet going forward. Anyway, at the back here, Damien is still doing really well. He's making 6.1 knot average for the last 4 hours up the back. He's caught up to Arnaud, basically. So, and Arnaud's doing pretty well, 4.7 knots. He's on course, all that sort of stuff. So it looks like he's going to be the tail ender for a while. And we're fully expecting Damien to keep roaring ahead. But interestingly, when you put the toggle on it to see where he is in relation to the front runners, he's not actually gaining on the front runners at all. If we look down here, we've got about 555 nautical miles from Damien to the leaders, and that's remained pretty consistent in the last 36 hours. So he's still got his work cut out for him as well. For sure he'll go through the back runners, but can he make can he make his way towards the lead? It'll take weeks, I reckon, but who knows? The doldrums is a lottery, and we'll talk about the weather going through the Canaries as well, because there's some interesting stuff going on. Still pretty much just a straightforward drag race towards Lanzarote. Ian Herbert Jones doing 6 knots, which is pretty good for him. Elliot wondering how he's going with his mast collar and so on, but he's doing 5.3 knots. The wind is definitely softening off at the back end here, so it's easier for the leaders to maintain a bigger speed when they got more wind. That's a pretty straightforward argument. Jeremy's come across. He must have got some weather there. He knows that it wasn't a good idea being out to the east. It was a little bit softer out there, and it sure is. So he's headed back in towards the mainstream, making 5.6 knots, so that's pretty cool. And then we've got Urton here, 4.7, a little bit lagging behind in terms of boat speed, but obviously enjoying the ride. Guy Waits, 5.8, and also heading across, probably making the most of sort of jibing downwind, more or less. I'm not sure what he's got up. He's probably got a big asymmetric up or something like that. And if you're running dead square, it's impossible. So it's better to be running across the breeze. So he's, same with Jeremy. They're all probably, sort of just tacking downwind, you call it, or not tacking, but jibing downwind. Captain Goog over the side, 6.2, that's quite respectable. And Kirsten's on the very edge of this lighter breeze, so she's dropped off to 5.7. And you can clearly see that the further out to the west, the lesser the wind gradient. It might not, in fact, I'll zoom this in a little bit now, get rid of that. Get rid of this here, just zoom it in so you can maybe define, even in here you can see it's a bit softer there than it is here. It's a darker green, so guys at the front are getting absolutely more breeze. So anyway, Guy Deboer, 7.1, he's roaring along, enjoying that. Everything's set up perfectly. And Abelish, 5.9. What we're seeing here, and we talk about this, we're just about to issue a press release today, there is no doubt in my mind that the potential boat speed, forget about the sailors for a minute, they're all good, but there is potentially, in my mind, a higher speed potential for Guy Deboer's Toshiba 36 compared to a Rustler 36. I may be wrong, but to me it's pretty obvious already, and that may come to play big time in the Southern Ocean if they can keep their boats together, touch wood. You'll find the bigger, powerful boat is probably going to have bigger legs, to get out there, but that's part of the fun of the GGR. Pat on the other side, 6.6, he's coming back into the breeze again and holding his own. Abelish, 5.9, as you said, he'd be racing as hard as he can for sure. These conditions are just, go for it. You're not worried about anything else but boat speed, so kind of interesting. Then we come down to Tapio, 7.4 knots. That's pretty impressive, so no complaints there. Simon, 6.4. So you can see also, if this breeze is a consistent sort of format over both these guys, and I'll try zooming in. Tapio's actually on a slightly different course, jibing across the breeze. Maybe that's giving him the better boat speed, but in terms of his vector made good, in terms of the course coming down here, yes, he's got higher boat speed, but he might be sailing a little bit away from the course, whereas Simon's, holding it in. So by that, if you're a non-sailor, what it means is, yes, Tapio can go a bit faster across the breeze this way, but you see he's got to come back in towards Lanzarote. So he's going for boat speed. Simon's a little bit more direct. He'll have to go a little bit slower, but he's still maintaining a little bit closer to the course down here to Lanzarote. So just to toggle this to work out where they are and what's going on, how we get up to the idea of their potential arrival. This morning at 4 o'clock UTC, they're about 100 nautical miles away. So that says to me, and this breeze is going to hold all the way in. There's breeze out the front here already, even though it's just early morning in Lanzarote. It's easy to see that there is a very good wind gradient. Now I can see over here in this zone higher wind strength. So as they get closer, especially this afternoon, they're going to get more breeze, so they'll maintain the speed. So you can pretty much say they're going to be, if I'll get rid of that, for 100 miles, if Simon's making 6.4 knots, they're going to make over 6 knot average into Lanzarote. So they could get here tonight at 2000 hours UTC or any time shortly after. On the island itself, they've got to come across the foot of the island. They'll be in the lee, the sea will drop off. It'll be quite exciting times for the film drop. So we're kind of looking forward to that, and it's a very respectable hour. We'd much rather be up at sort of 10, 11, 12 o'clock tonight than 3 o'clock in the morning, because the good news is that Abelish is quite a bit behind, and that might mean that we can come home and get some sleep, but we will see. So he's about, after Tapio, he'll be, sort of 8-9 hours later, so we could get some sleep during the morning. That's being very selfish, I know, but anyway. So what's the gap between Tapio and Simon? We'll put them on the bow here. In fact, I'll go head-to-head in terms of a course, not distance apart. Hours. So when Simon comes through, we'd expect to see Tapio a couple of hours later. Their distance apart right now is about 15 nautical miles. So there'll be some action tonight on Facebook. We'll have lights going and all that sort of stuff. They'll probably be disappointed it's not daylight, but we still hope to meet them maybe down by the lighthouse and so on. So stay tuned for that. Now, I'll get rid of this and show you what's going on with the weather now as we move forward. This high pressure system coming over, it's going to create the first opportunity or the first situation on the tail enders, because here's what's going to happen. If I so this is, let's say they're due in tonight at around about 2000, so I'll try and bring this up. You can see already this this high pressure system coming across. It's going to influence the weather a lot as it pulls over the top of the Canaries. So I've got to hit this line dead on here. It's a little bit further, but you can see already. So this is 2 o'clock in the morning UTC tomorrow. Okay, so Tapio and Tapio and Simon will be through the Canaries, which is here. Look what's happening behind. Okay, the wind is dropping off. It's getting lighter all the way. So when Tapio and Simon are through the Canaries, this mid-fleet guys will still be in the breeze. They'll be in here, but tail enders like the guys coming up, Elliot and Ian, they may be started to be affected by the light breezes, and it's going to get worse. So then if we come through to the 18th, there's the 18th. Wow. So that's 18th, 24 hours later, and you can see that it's a real act here because, excuse me, this is 2 days ahead. So, but only a day after they come through, will Simon and Tapio keep sailing here in this light breeze? Because if they do, they could get a big jump because the others will be coming through. They'll park in here. These guys at the back coming up are going to get a lot lighter breeze and slow right down. So, it's not good for Damien. Damien's going to be struggling in some of this. It'll be very light winds, so that if the leaders can get through into this breeze, and I'll go through to the next day, boom, that's starting to get through it. You can see here, boom, a big part of the fleet might be here, and if Simon and Tapia are in here, they get a huge break. They can really just roar ahead, and they'll pick up another 150 miles maybe from the fleet. And those that are left behind, this gets worse. If you don't make this line here within the next 2 or 3 days, 3 days or so, you've got a big problem. And Damien might be hooked up in this. You might see the fleet, we're 550 miles away at the moment. Damien could end up 700 miles behind the leaders, and that's the way it works, if you're there. And so if we just scale this back, to where they're headed, they won't actually come here. What you'll see this is like the Rumline course to get around Trinidadi, which is down here and across. Okay, so remember that. What happens is when you're sailing this, they'll know that they'll try and hold this. In fact, this is really interesting. It's hooking back there. This is the doldrums area where the transition zone from the southeasterly trades is going to hit the northeasterly trades. Squalls, thunderstorms, all that sort of stuff. And when they get here, somewhere they're going to have to make a decision on what they do. Now, that's kind of interesting, but they won't be there until sometime down here. Okay, it's still happening, so, oh boy, look at this. I won't even predict what's going to happen, but generally you end up coming across here and coming across on port tack and making your way down, so it's not too bad. But it could get very demanding here. So that's for the future, but for now, things could change with the placings. It's going to be a lot of interesting stuff going on in the next 3 or 4 days. For us, tomorrow morning, I think we'll still get the tracker up on time, but when we get really busy with all these boats coming, we'll see what happens. We might miss a tracker one morning. We'll just have to wait and see. You'll have to do your own interpretation, but you'll love all the Facebook Lives, so stay tuned for that. The first time to speak to the guys and girls, and we're looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. It'll be fun, and there's a press release coming out today as well.